Hello and welcome to Super Pants Gaming. Thank you so much for joining me today for this episode of the Fast 4, where I get 4 games pulled at random in pairs by an online random name picker. So basically this list in here is roughly 300 or 400 games from my collection which I've handpicked to hopefully give interesting little 1-minute reviews for if they come up. So in a second my sensible adult's going to press the button and give us our first 2 games. We're going to do that twice, so let's see how bad this can be for our first 2 games of this episode. And that starts terribly, I won't lie. So there we go, the first game that we're going to be reviewing is a PlayStation 2 game that's actually one of my Phoenix collection, and that's London Cab Challenge. Yeah, I kind of remember that being dreadful. I think I actually fell through the ground in it. So that will be quite entertaining. And that is followed up by the polar opposite, and that's Hades on the PlayStation 4. Ooh, which I'm probably not quite brave enough to go for the platinum on, if I'm totally honest, which is a bit of a shame. But yes, Hades I would say is probably one of my sort of top 10 games of all time. I absolutely love Hades, but I probably can't get the platinum. So yeah, let's go to London and fall through the planet. Thank you, RNG. At least I know it can only get better from here. London Cab Challenge is a crazy taxi rip-off, released by Phoenix Games in 2006. 2006! Basically, drive over an arrow, attempt to drive across the map to drive over another arrow within the time limit to get some money. Why do you need money? To upgrade your taxi. This game looks and plays dreadfully. The physics and collision detection are all over the place, the soundtrack is mind-numbing and the gameplay frustratingly terrible. This should never have been released as a game. I failed to fully fall through the map on this playthrough, but it speaks volumes when you spend more time playing with how broken it is than actually trying to play the game as intended. This is without a doubt one of the worst games I've ever played and one of the worst games in my collection. I'm feeling kind, so I'm going to give this an extra half point for making the telephone boxes taller than double-decker buses, so that's 1.5. Well done, Phoenix Games. Hades is a roguelite dungeon crawler where you play as Zagreus, son of Hades, as you attempt to ascend the 4 distinct realms of hell to escape in search of your mother. Aided along your way by a vast array of Olympian gods such as Zeus, Poseidon and Athena, this game is drenched in Greek mythology, not only in its main plot but through the many side stories that evolve with every escape attempt you make. Breaking the core gameplay down, it's basically a dungeon crawler with randomly generated rooms in which you defeat all enemies before making a choice of which path to take dependent on the reward you wish to gain from the following room. The Olympians bestow boons upon you, and with each new run you build a powerhouse of a character which just minutes ago seemed unfathomable. With a plethora of different currencies, you have many things to consider both during and between runs, and with 6 different weapons it helps keep the game feeling fresh. The writing is top drawer and the game oozes style. The controls are buttery smooth and each escape attempt has an uncanny knack of making you feel proud of what you just accomplished. It's impossible to do this game justice in such a short review, but this is a top 10 game all time for me and I'm giving it 9.5. So yes, there we are. That was certainly a very interesting way from my point of view to start this Fast 4. Yeah, so my sensible adult now is going to give us our next 2 games, or our final 2 games should I say, for this episode of Fast 4. Go for it, what do we got? Okay, that's not too bad. Awesome. So we have on the Sega Megadrive, we have Speedball 2. Followed by on the Xbox 360, that's Persona 4 Arena Ultimax. So, which is awesome, that's like a fighting game. So, a really good one as well, actually. So, that's actually 2 solid games. So, I will see you playing Speedball. Set in the distant future, Speedball 2 is a brutal handball-esque sport played by teams of 9 players with 3 substitutes. Games are played over 2 halves, each 90 seconds long, where you need to outscore your opponents. Most scoring is done in the traditional way by throwing the ball into the goal, but points can also be gained by injuring your opponents and hitting certain bonus point spots in the arena. There are also multipliers and power-ups to consider whilst playing. Story-wise, you play as the Team Brutal Deluxe in their attempt to rise up through the rankings. There are various gameplay modes including a couch co-op and a quite entertaining management sim, as well as the more arcade action sports beat 'em up fest of the core gameplay. players control well, and whilst the action can get a little frantic at times, it never seems too unfair. Graphically, it still looks decent, and the sound and music hold up remarkably well. I'm pleased to say it's still a blast to play, and I massively enjoyed revisiting this for the review. An absolute classic, I'm pleased to be giving 8.5. Persona 4 Arena Ultimax is a fighting game which released on 7th generation consoles in 2014. Here I'm reviewing on the Xbox 360. With Persona 4 being my favourite in the series and Arc System Works being one of my favourite fighting game developers, this title instantly appealed to me, and let me assure you it's every bit as good as I was hoping. Set after the events of Persona 4 and as a direct sequel to the earlier Persona 4 Arena, this game has various play options, including a fully fleshed out visual novel broken into sections around relevant character fights. The game controls brilliantly, and the characters for the most part feel well balanced and fun to play despite requiring some mastery at higher difficulties. As with the mainline Persona games, it's on point with sound and visually impressive in both graphics and stylistic presentation. As you'd expect, all your standard game modes are here as well, and the game boasts a decent roster of characters from both Personas 3 and 4, and also their shadow counterparts which offer a higher skill-based fighting mechanic for those seasoned veterans among us. This is one of my favourite fighting games of all time, so if you're at all into Persona, want a bit more story and like a bit of 2D fighting action, this is a no-brainer. 9. Yeah, so from my point of view, that was an awesome way to finish off this episode of Fast 4, despite the really quite sketchy start to this episode. So there you go, an absolute banger from my past and a brilliant fighting game. So, excellent! So anyway, thank you guys so much for being here. I've been Soup. As always, you guys are awesome. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye. Yeah, I actually fisted the camera. Yeah. Have a bit of ceiling. Woo! Whoops.